Okay, today, November 30th, 2023, we are going to have the 34th meeting, reading Urantia book with Heidi. Keep reading paper 110, Relation of Adjusters with Individual Mortals, section 7, The Attainment of Immortality. And we are going to have meeting at both Zoom and VOV or Tencent meeting. Welcome to attend on every Thursday. Okay, Heidi. So I already reported that in English.
Right. Oh, there's my mom. Maybe you should say it in Chinese too.
我中文已经OK，我中文再说一遍吧。那今天是与海蒂读御书第34次会议，我们继续读110篇《调整者与个体凡人的关系》第7部分获得永生啊。我们同时在 Zoom 和腾讯会议上面都有直播啊，欢迎大家选择合适的平台啊，每周四晚参加我们的学习。好的。
Okay. Hello, everyone. I hope you had a nice break, and it's nice to be back.
Yes, yeah. That's the first break we have, since April.
Yeah. It's amazing. Okay. So yeah, as you said, we're in paper 110. We're finishing up the papers about the thought adjusters. We've been reading all of them. We're finishing the last section of 110 today. The last section, number 7, the attainment of immortality. And here we go.
我们就是第110篇，马上就要结束了，现在是最后一部分，获得永生。
The achievement of the 7 cosmic circles does not equal adjuster fusion. There are many mortals living on Urantia who have attained their circles, but fusion depends on yet other greater and more sublime spiritual achievements. Upon the attainment of a final and complete attunement of the mortal will with the will of God as it is resident in the thought adjuster.
对了，我们还要一个伙伴来读这个翻译的部分。哪个伙伴可以读翻译的中文的部分？王真，你可以读吗？方便吗？
Okay. I'm going to read the next two paragraphs and then grab my coffee. When a human being has completed the circles of cosmic achievement, and further, when the final choosing of the mortal will permits the adjuster to complete the association of human identity with the Marancha soul during evolutionary and physical life, then do such consummated liaisons of soul and adjuster go on independently to the mansion worlds, where there is issued the mandate from Uversa, which provides for the immediate fusion of the adjuster and the Marancha soul. This fusion during physical life instantly consumes the material body. The human beings who might witness such a spectacle would only observe the translating mortal disappear, quote, in chariots of fire, unquote. That's a quote. I'll read the next paragraph. That's a quote from the Bible. That's why they say that.
Yeah.
Most adjusters who have translated their subjects from Urantia were highly experienced. Translated, that's when, that's what they call it. Were highly experienced and of record as previous indwellers of numerous mortals of on other spheres. Remember, adjusters gain valuable indwelling experience on planets of the lone order. It does not follow that adjusters only gain experience for advanced work in those mortal subjects who fail to survive. Okay.
Okay, good. Yeah, go ahead, grab your coffee. OK，来一个伙伴给我们读这3段呗。艾娃，你吃完饭没？
好，行啊，读哪里？
OK，这是第1到3段第7部分。
是现在读吗？还待会？
现在因为那个海底已经英文读完了。
哦，行啊，行啊，7获得永生110.7.1，7个宇宙圈的成就，并不等于调整者融合。有许多生活在预然下的凡人已经达到这些圈，但是融合取决于其他更伟大、更崇高的灵性成就，取决于达成凡人意志与思想调整者内的神的旨意的最终而完整的协调。麻烦往下来一下。
好的，好的。
110.7.2，当一个人完成了宇宙成就的这些圈，而且当凡人意志的最终选择使得调整者可以在进化和物质生活中完成人类身份与灵智性灵魂的联合时，那么灵魂和调整者的这种完美的连接将独立地进入宅下世界，并且有来自尤沃萨的授权，使调整者和灵智性灵魂立即融合。物质生活中的这种融合立刻耗尽物质身体，可能目睹这种景象的人只会看到转化中的凡人消失在烈火战车中。110.7.3，大多数从预染下中把主体转移出来的调整者都是经验丰富的，并且以往记录中曾是其他星球的众多凡人的内住者。请记住，调整者在他们只是被戒掉的行星上获得了宝贵的内住经验，这并不意味着调整者只在那些未能续存的凡人主体身上获得高级工作所需的经验。
Okay. Yeah, Heidi, we are done first 3 paragraphs.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm laughing because I kept trying to unmute and it kept muting again.
Because of sneezing, right?
Well, he sort of along those lines.
Yeah, me too, me too.
So okay. So the first paragraph, the achievement of the 7 cosmic circles does not equal adjuster fusion. Okay, that's clear that does everyone here know what adjuster fusion is?
他就问这个大家知不知道，就是与思想调整者融合是什么意思？大家前面读过这个概念，大家就是知道吗？清楚与思想调整者融合是什么概念吗？
Well, for anyone listening to this this audio, we can just say adjuster fusion is when you and your adjuster fuse and become one person, and that usually happens on the Morancha world, but they're going to talk a little more about it here.
它就是相当于思想调整者跟我们的人格成为一个个体，一个存有，然后一般都没有不可能在那个 物质身体或者灵质性身体的阶段都还不可能达到的。
So they're saying there are many people who have achieved all 7 circles. Now that, remember, it goes from 7 to 1. So when they say have achieved all their circles, they mean all the way up to 1, even the first one where they remember the third one. Well, you were just reading about it, reviewing it. The third one, we have guardian angels, you know, and we make a decision to do God's will and things like that. And the first one, we have much better communication with our thought adjuster. So that's all 7. So many people, they're saying, have achieved all 7, but that doesn't mean you're fused with your thought adjuster yet.
那我们前面提到7个心灵圆圈，那么我们从第7圈到第1圈，这第3个圆圈的时候，我们就被分配了一个个人守护天使，并且我们做出了最高的，或者我们就是做出最高至高决定，追随神的旨意，那个都会被给予这个个人护佑天使哈。然后第1圈的时候呢，那个我们就会可以跟神直接能够交流呢，这些成就都不代表跟思想调整者的融合。
It's you know, it doesn't even mean that you're guaranteed to fuse with your thought adjuster.
并且甚至都不代表说你被保证哈，你肯定会跟思想调整者融合。
But it means you have a good start.
那只是说明你有一个很好的开始。
Now, it's good news here when they say there are many mortals living on Urantia who have attained their circles, but fusion depends on yet other greater and more sublime spiritual achievements upon the attainment of a final and complete attunement of the mortal will with the will of God, as it is resident in the thought adjuster. So the good news is that many people here on earth have achieved all 7, which means that's good news for us. It means that there are a lot of, you know, not just a few, but many people on this planet right now who have very, very good communication with their thought adjuster. They know it's God. They may not know it's, you know, they may not call it their thought adjuster because they haven't read the Urantia book, but they feel the presence of God within them and they have very good communication. It might be complete, it might be partial, but it's good.
对，这是一个好消息，就是证明现在在我们的星球上，实际上有许多人已经达到了7个圆圈，就是说他们跟神就是有比较好的顺畅的交流。那当然他们不一定叫他们是思想调整者，那么他们能够体会就是觉察神的同在啊，至少就是跟神有部分的很好的交流。
So we should all remember that most of these people, you know, when they say many people, okay, there's, you know, what 7.6 billion people on the planet. They, you know, I don't know if that means millions, but it might mean millions, right? It's many, not like
Recording in progress.
Not, why did it say recording in progress?
Oh, that's Zoom. I forgot to record, so I'm kind of.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, so what was I saying?
Sorry, this term.
Let me just say that again. So there are many mortals who are living on Urantia and achieved all their circles. That means they've gone from 7 to 1. They've achieved their first circle. They have good communication with God. There's billions of people on the planet. So when they say many, we don't know what that means, but I would guess that many, they're not saying a few, which would mean, 1 in a million or something. They're saying many. So I would say there's probably, out of the billions of people living here, there's probably a few million, millions of people. But I mean, I would say it's probably less than 10% or something. I'm just guessing.
他说这个地方说有许多，没有说有几个。那么其实肯定这个数量来讲，不应该是百万人当中只有一个。那么我们现在有上70亿人口哈，那么大概应该是有几百万吧，至少。他说应该是小于1/10，他只是猜测。
And remember, these are not just spiritually advanced people. These are well-balanced people these are people who have balanced their souls and their minds and their bodies, that live a pretty balanced life.
对，要记住，就是他们不光灵性上比较的先进，那么他们是非常的平衡的，身心灵各方面都很平衡的那些人。
Okay, sorry, my mute button is having trouble. It's having trouble when I try to unmute it. It's hard. Okay, today. So that's good news. That's good news that we're not living in a time where no people have reached all their circles. That's good news. I just want to remind all of us listening to this, that most of these people who have achieved their 7 circles have not read the Urantia book. Okay, so I just want to always make that clear to anyone who listens to this, that we're not above others because we're reading this book. We're just lucky that we have this and that we happen to like it. But reaching your circles has nothing to do with reading this book. We're just lucky to have this information.
这个是是一个好消息哈，我们就是没有那么，就是不少的人已经达到了这样的一个身心平衡发展的一个层次。那就是我们要提醒一点的，就是那大部分这些人呢，根本就也不知道月染下之书，也没有读过月染下之书。这个就是说明，就是我们并不是读这些书就好像比别人要高啊，我们只是碰巧哈认识到这本书，并且喜欢读这本书而已。
You don't have to know about the 7 psychic circles to reach the 7 psychic circles.
你不需要知道7个心灵圆圈而达到7个心灵圆圈的成就。
In fact, as they told us in our last session, as we read, it's not even very clear. It's hard to even explain. It's hard to even. It was hard for them to even describe when one circle ends and the next one begins. It's just a basically evolving of a human being, and in their physical and Moranchal, because a lot of people don't reach their first circle until they're in the Moranchal worlds. So it's just a basic evolving and balancing of a human being, a mortal.
Yeah. 对，就是他就是在这本书里，甚至都没有详细的给出每一圈儿他这个成就什么样子的，只是告诉我们的那个人类个体在不断的进化，那么从物质到灵智体的不断的进化，甚至就是我们一直到灵智世界的时候，有可能才能达到第一个心灵圆圈，那么才能够成为一个比较平衡的个体。
So when you reached your psychic circles, you're not going to be a fanatic You're not going to be filled with anxiety. You're not going to be obsessed with things. You're not going to be, you might get depressed, but not for long. You're going to be able to handle situations, things like that.
嗯哼，那就是达到这个掌握了7个心灵圆圈，就是你不会成为一个狂热的宗教徒啊，也不会陷入比较长时间的焦虑啊，也不会被什么东西所执着和占据。那你会那个情绪低落，但是不会很久，那么你会学习这个处理很多的情况。
In many ways, life gets easier because even though your life might not be easier, you have better tools to handle situations. You have learned by the time you reach your 30, even your third and then your first, you have learned to rely on God, to seek help from God when you need it. You have learned that you're not alone, that you can handle things because you have a higher power who's with you at all times. So in that sense, you're not as overwhelmed with life. You know that whatever is thrown at you, you can catch it.
啊，这就是说你这个生活是肯定会达到圈儿之后呢，会是容易很多。你就是掌握了很好的工具，来这个来掌控你的生活。那个达到第3个甚至第1个之后，就是你就是越来越多的学习仰赖神，那个从神那里寻求帮助。你认识到自己不是孤单的，你有更高的更高的权柄能量来与你同在，那么你不会被生活中更大的挑战会就是打倒和吓倒啊，任何就是把你甩出去的力量，你都会就是能够克服。
Now they say that that fusion, when you actually fuse and become one identity, indistinct. Once you fuse with your jester, no one can tell the difference between your, like right now, the solitary messenger who's writing this paper, they can see us and they can see this light of the adjuster in us, and they know that it's 2 separate entities. Once we fuse, we're just, that light becomes our light. We're no longer 2 separate entities.
对，当我们与思想调整者融合的时候，我们成为一个独立的一个统一的一个身份，一个存有。那么没有人能够，就是看我们是2个是分开的。那么现在写这些思想调整者篇章的这些单独使者，他们看我们是看到我们里边的光，因为这是看我们跟思想调整者是2个不同的个体。那么当我们融合之后，我们就是那个光，就是一个个体。
So they say so reaching the 7 circles, now it's sort of like now you're ready for the Morancha journey. Now you've sort of graduated your main mortal challenges. You're ready to embark on the Morancha adventure. You've learned to balance your spiritual, your soul, and your mind. You're no longer overwhelmed, dominated by your animal fears or completely dysfunctional from your upbringing or your surroundings or your unhealthy influences. You've achieved the goal of rising above all that and saying, okay, I'm a citizen. I'm a cosmic citizen. I'm ready to embark on this. I can handle it. I can do it. And God and I are partners, and we're ready to embark on this universal journey.
对，那么相当于我们，就是融合之后呢，就踏上这个，就是标志着我们就是战胜了就是物质作为物质形体的一切的挑战，我们踏上了这个向灵智化这个进展的旅程，战胜了动物的恐惧，和一些的，就是功能不佳的状况，然后对环境有更多的掌控，然后能够上升到所有的环境之上，成为宇宙公民，能够成为就是宣称我们是神的伴侣共同的进行宇宙扬升的历程。
So you may still have doubt sometimes, and you may still have fear sometimes, but you know that you know how to, you've learned how to handle your doubt and how to handle your fear. So you're not overwhelmed by doubt anymore. You're not overwhelmed by fear anymore. And I don't mean overwhelmed like 24 hours a day, like you're just live in a state, but people, they have periods, a moment, an hour, a day, a week where they're overwhelmed by fear or doubt, or where they act on it instead of pushing it to the side and acting on a higher impulse, listening to their thought adjuster. They act out of fear or out of doubt. And when you've achieved all 7 circles, you're going to recognize it. You're going to say, okay, right this moment I'm overwhelmed with fear, or right now I'm feeling overwhelmed with doubt, and you're going to sit down and work through it.
Yeah. 那么就是我们经常是被疑惑和这个恐惧所控制。那我们达到这个成就之后呢，就会更融合之后，就会知道怎么更好的处理和掌控这些的疑惑和恐惧不会被这个东西打倒。当然，不是说我们24小时都会处在这种的胜利的状态。那么，也许有一小部分，这一天当中1个小时，我们会被打倒，会被就是行动上会照着我们的恐惧和疑惑来行动。但是呢，如果是我们就是融合了之后，我们马上会意识到这个，如果有这个恐惧和那个疑惑在，那么我们会马上有觉知的停下来说 ，OK， 现在我要就是来行动，来战胜我的恐惧和疑惑。就是你那个周期就是被那个所掌控的，被比较不良的这种情绪和信念掌控的就越来越少，时间越来越少。
So so it says fusion, you have to have attained all 7 psychic circles to be ready for fusion, but that's a prerequisite. You have to do that first, but that doesn't mean you're ready for fusion. You're not ready for fusion. Fusion, here it says, fusion depends on yet other greater and more sublime spiritual achievements. Now, we don't know what those are because they're not telling us what those are. I don't think they tell us even, well, they may, but they certainly don't do it much in the whole book, because they know we're lucky if we get to our 7 circles, right? So very, very few people are going to fuse on this planet in this era. In a future era, when the planet achieves light and life, and when it's a very evolved planet, yeah, people are going to fuse. A lot of people are going to fuse at the end of their life right here and go right to the Morancha world. But that's not going to happen for us. We're just not evolved enough. So they don't really tell us what these greater and more sublime spiritual achievements are, but we can imagine. We can only imagine.
那么这达到7个心灵圆圈只是达到融合的先决条件，但是呢，你除了那个之外，还要有达到更伟大并崇高的灵性的成就。那么这到底是哪些成就呢？那个这里也没有仔细的说明。那么我们只能说，那现在有一部分人已经达到了这样的成就。那么在将来，如果我们的星球，进化铆定在光和生命当中，也许有很多的人已经能够达到这些成就，并达到了7个圆圈，就是能够实现跟这个信仰调整者的融合，以至于他们在他们临终的时候能够马上被转移到宅下世界。
Now we've talked about this before, that there's this phenomenon that people know of. They don't know what it is, but it's called spontaneous human combustion. And it's the most bizarre thing, because this has been a phenomenon that has existed for, as long as there's no who knows when the first time, because in the Bible, they saw Enoch, 1 or 2 people fused in the Bible. They achieved fusion on earth. One of them was Enoch. And what it was reported, people were there when it happened. So they reported that he disappeared in chariots of fire. So they saw it was as if he went into a blaze of fire and then he was gone.
这个是那个，他又提到人体自燃的现象，就是人去世的时候，相当于这个就可以一把3昧真火就把人自己给烧了，或者是只剩一些指甲、头发之类的。他又提到圣经里边也有记载，那个比如说好像有2个人就是这种的方法离世的，那个以诺提到以诺，以诺就是当时他就是人就有目睹嘛，他就是相当于被烈火战车接走了。
Now, since then, this phenomenon has been reported, but I don't think that many people realize that spontaneous human combustion was probably the same thing as Enoch disappearing in a chariots of fire, because I don't think too many people put it together. But when you read the Urantia book, they tell us about fusion and how you go up in flames and then you're gone. That's probably spontaneous human combustion. And also we know the Urantia book says that is what happened to Enoch. That is what they were describing. The Urantia book does not mention spontaneous human combustion, but it does say that some people do fuse here on earth. Now, very, very few, but spontaneous combustion is certainly not a common occurrence. It's amazing that anyone's ever seen it. But the fact that we even have a reporting of people just being there 1 minute and then literally disappearing. Maybe their pocketbook is left behind, or they say there's like, when you read about spontaneous human combustion, they say there's like a greasy spot left on the sidewalk, or, but human beings witness it, where you're there 1 minute and then you're gone. What else could it be? Must be fusion.
对，月下之书这个描写呢，相当于是我们，把那个人体自然现象和圣经当中记载的以诺的乘烈火战车消失啊，这些都联系起来，这是一个，跟相调整者融合之后发生的现象。
It says in the next paragraph, this fusion during physical life instantly consumes the material body. The human beings who might witness such a spectacle would only observe the translating mortal disappear. Quote, then they use the biblical term, that because that's what they said back then, in chariots of fire. But in spontaneous human combustion, I could look it up, but I think they say they see flames, flames, and then the person's gone. I'm not sure if they say they see flames. I think they do. Do you know? Have you looked at? I mean, Ricky? Didn't you tell me Tibetan some monks that's happened to monks?
Yeah. Some Tibetan monks, they can, some can reduce their body size upon their departure, or they can just, kind of, they enclose themselves in one room, and then later people check the room and only some nails and hairs and remains, and all the body is gone.
Yeah. So we don't know if there's flames or not, but I think if we look up, after this session, I can look up spontaneous. I think they report that they see flame, like it's like a fire or an explosion of some kind, but I mean, it doesn't matter. We're not likely to see it.
我觉得他记不清那圣经当中是提到的是火焰呢、火苗啊，那个 flame 那个词还是什么啊？它就是有联系到我们这个，我提到这个一些的高僧大德，尤其是修藏密的，对他们死的时候就可以身体缩小，或者到时候只留下指甲、头发那样的一种自然现象。
The fact is, it does happen.
那对，就是说明这个是的确发生过的。
And people have seen it.
对，你有人目睹的。
So when they say in the first paragraph, and then we'll move on past the first paragraph, but when they say fusion depends on yet other greater and more sublime spiritual achievements, and I said we could just imagine them. I'll let you translate that and then I'll go on.
对，当他提到就是说融合的条件还取决于其他更伟大、更崇高的灵性成就的时候，我们只是可以去想象，我们的想象力去那个扩充这一部分。
This is what I imagine, because the first circle means you're pretty balanced, and you've made a commitment to do God's will. You're pretty balanced, and you have a certain amount of communication with God, conscious communication with God. That's your first. So we're talking what happens next. What's the next phase after this?
那这达到第一个圆圈呢，就是说你就是相当于已经就是跟神一直发展到一个很身心灵平衡的，并且就是跟神有持续的交流交通，有意识的清醒意识的交流交通。那么我们只能是想象，那么它再进一步发展是什么样子？
Well, I imagine it's practice. A lot of it's practice, because you've made the commitment to do God's will, but that doesn't mean you're good at doing God's will all the time. So I imagine that the next phase is now you're pretty balanced. Now you're communicating pretty well with God. Now you're learning to do God's will. that's the sublime spiritual achievements they're talking about, I think, is that in order to fuse with your thought adjuster, you have to already be in complete alignment. That's why you fuse, because you're in such alignment that there's no longer there's no longer much of a separation between you. You are doing God's will. So that's what I imagine these greater and sublime spiritual achievements are learning to just submit your will to God's will all the time, be guided by God all the time.
对，那么你就是做决定，就是要执行神的旨意。那么在下一阶段，你就是更跟神的意愿完全的这个协调啊，没有分别。那你这完全把你的意志交托给神的意志。
It's like living a life like Jesus, like the way Jesus lived his life, where everything he did was in harmony with God's will.
那就像耶稣基督一样，就是活的生活完全跟上主的这个意志相一致、相协调。
You don't have to be a great miracle worker like Jesus or a great, world teacher or healer, but you just have to be in harmony with God.
你可能并不是一个奇迹之功啊，或者是一个什么灵性导师啊，或者是疗愈师啊，但是你这个生活基本上是跟神这个的意志相一致的、相协调的。
But for now, we're just trying. It's one step at a time.
我们只是一步一步的在往那个方向走。
Okay, and now I have to tell you a little tiny story.
我现在要告诉大家一个小故事。
Because it reminds me so much of this.
对，我只是受到提醒，就是要告诉这样一个小故事。
So I was watching a video yesterday about all these good deeds people have done for other people, these wonderful people doing wonderful things. It was very uplifting.
昨天看一个录像，就是关于这些好人做好事啊，非常令人振奋。
And there was this one story where this family adopted a kid who had been in really bad circumstances.
这有一个家庭，领养了一个小孩儿啊。
Maybe I can't remember, but maybe his mother died. Maybe he didn't ever even know who his father was, or his father was in jail, or he had been abused. He had been homeless. He had a really rough childhood.
那这个小孩呢，大概只是生活经历很悲惨，那个可能是母亲去世了，父亲坐牢了，然后被虐待过，然后就无家可归，反正就是境遇很悲惨的一个小孩。
So this kind family adopted him, but he was a terrible kid.
这个很好心的家庭领养了他，但是这个孩子好像很差劲。
He was just the most selfish kid in the world.
他是最自私的一个小孩。
True story, true story.
是一个真实的故事。
He only thought of himself, and he didn't even want to think of anyone else. He wasn't even interested in he wanted to be selfish. He didn't care about anyone. He said he didn't care about anyone. And that's pretty much the way it was going to stay.
对，他对别人一点不感兴趣，也不关心，他只关心他自己，只想到他自己。
So now he was a teenager, and he was still as selfish as ever.
他就已经现在长成一个青少年了，他仍然还是那么自私。
So one day his adopted mother was so frustrated. So at the end of her rope, do you have that expression at the end of your rope?
I understand. Yes, I totally understand what that means.
Do you have a similar expression when you're at the end of your rope?
Yes.
There's nowhere else to go. You've absolutely had it.
对，有一天这个妈妈哈，这个领养妈妈就是那个已经到了她的耐心的极限。
So she's having a talk with him.
她跟他有一个谈话。
And she's begging him to please just do something for someone else, to do some volunteer work, help a little kid, to help them with their homework, train the dog, walk the dog every day, offer to do something beyond his regular chores, go help some old people in the old folks home once a week. She's just beg, be a coach for the younger kids because he was a good athlete. She was begging him, please do something for someone else.
对，他就跟那小孩说：“你至少哈，能不能给别人做点好事儿啊？或者是帮助小孩子作业方面啊，或者帮助别人那个遛狗啦，在你这个日常的工作之外呢，帮一下别人。他是一个好像是个运动员，大概那个孩子运动方面比较有天赋。”
So every time she would suggest something, he'd go, no, I can't do that.
那每一次这个妈妈建议他做什么，然后那个男孩都表示拒绝。
And he was telling the truth. He was so selfish, he really couldn't think of others. He just couldn't.
对呀，这也有道理啊，因为他那么自私，他根本不想要帮助别人。
You can't force yourself to be a good person.
那就是不可能，就是逼着一个人做好人。
But maybe sometimes you can trick yourself.
有的时候你可以骗一骗自己。
So she said, she was about to give up. And all right, you can say that. She was about to give up and she said one more thing.
他这个母亲已经快要很绝望，就快要放弃这样的努力了。但是他说了这样的一句话，对这个孩子。
She said, could you just open a door for somebody?
那他就说，你能不能就是至少给别人开门啊，就是这样一个礼貌啊，给别人开门，让别人先走，这样。
And he said, yes, I can do that.
哎，这个很不容易哈。这个男孩就说了，哎，好，这个我可以做到。
So the next day he opened a door for someone.
那第二天呢，他就给别人主动开门啊，不管是进还是出，就是他主动给别人开门，让别人先行。
And much to his surprise, he liked it.
诶，他说他很让他惊奇的是，就是这个男孩嘛，很惊奇
He
的是，
liked
诶，这个男孩喜欢这样做，
he liked the way it made him feel.
他喜欢就是他
Remember,
这
he's
样
a
做
self.
他自己的感觉，对，他喜欢这样做以后他自己的感觉，他自己这样做感觉良好，就是说。
Remember, he's still a selfish guy.
要记住，他还是一个很自私的孩子，很自私的人，但是呢，他还是喜欢这样偶尔帮助一下人。
So he liked the way it made him feel. So the next day he opened another door for someone else.
那第二天他又主动的给别人开门啊，又做了同样的好事。
So then he started opening doors for people all the time.
他就是他从此以后他就非常的喜欢总是给别人开门啊，让别人先行。
And then he realized that it really makes him feel good to do things for other people.
他就发现，哎，给别人做一些这种小事哈，这个让他感觉很良好。
And then he decided he wants to help people all the time.
那么他由此而发展到他就是想要帮助人啊。
And then he started a business in high school, and he donated a certain amount of the business to helping people.
他就是在高中的时候就开始做生意，并且把他的生意所得呢，就奉献一部分给人。
So he is a completely transformed human being because he opened one door for one person.
他成为一个完全被转化了的人，对，就是相当于从哪开始呢？就是从为一个人开门开始。
Now he's an inspiring example for other kids in his high school.
他成为在他的这个高中是比较的那个激励人的这么一个典范。
But why did this happen?
那么这个是怎么发生？为什么这个转变会发生呢？
Because his mother refused to give up on him.
因为他的妈妈拒绝放弃他。
She begged her selfish son to just open one door for one person.
对，他只是求这个自私的孩子能够为一个人开门。
And now lives are being changed.
现在这个生命就彻底改变了。
So that's the point that I'm trying to make is we don't have to be, perfectly aligned with God right now today, but maybe we should just open one door for one person. Just get started.
那么我的意思，我想要说的点就是，我们不必要做到完全，现在就是这一点上，就是完全跟神合一啊，或者符合神的旨意啊。但是我们就是要从给一个人开一扇门开始，这样。
And then we get a taste for serving, a taste for helping others, and then we like the way it feels.
那么我们就是尝到为人服务的这个滋味，那么我们就会喜欢上这样的感觉。
We don't have to, tell anyone when we do a good deed. We don't have to go to church if we don't want to. We don't have to act religious or act like we care so much about other people. None of that. We just have to start opening those doors.
对，我们不用告诉每个人我们做的好事，也不用每天要去经常定期的去教会，或者表现的多么的很虔诚的样子，也好像对别人很关心的样子。我们只需要能够做一点点。
When everyone on our planet holds doors open for other people, it'll be a completely different world we live in.
那如果我们每一个人都能够做到给别人开一扇门，那么我们的星球就会完全的不同。
Okay, so next paragraph. When a human being has completed the circles of cosmic achievement, and further, when the final choosing of the mortal will permits the adjuster to, you don't have to translate this, I'm just reading it to myself. The adjuster to complete the association of human identity with the mortal soul during evolutionary and physical life, then do such constant. Okay, so it says when a human being has completed the circles, and further, now they're talking about fusion, when the final choosing of the mortal will permits the adjuster to complete the association of human identity with the morantial soul, during evolutionary and physical life. So that's the more sublime spiritual achievements. They're calling it when we permit the adjuster to complete the association of human identity with the Morancha soul during evolutionary and physical life, then does such consummated liaison of soul adjuster go independently to the Mermantian world, and there is issued the mandate from university that provides immediate fusion. Okay, so what they're saying is that after you've reached your 7 circles, if you reach those sublime and further spiritual achievements, they're calling it here they're saying you're giving the adjuster permission to complete the association with of your human identity with the Morancha soul. So that's what I'm always talking about, is I'm always saying we're developing our soul is a Moranchal experience, reality, but we have a soul right now. We're completing it. We're evolving it. We can learn to use our soul, to think with our soul right here, right now. And they're saying when we do that completely, then we can fuse on this planet. We can actually fuse here on this world, but we have to merge our identity with our soul. So that's basically, we become a Morancha citizen right here. And that's when people who do that fuse with their adjuster right here on this planet.
就是所以就是他就强调我们在这个物质身体的时候，也就是那个我们如果我们更多的用我们的灵魂来思考，那么我们就可以达到在这个星球上就达到跟信仰调整者完全的融合，就是身份就是完全的融合。
And this is such a dramatic spiritual event that it consumes, that's the word they use, consumes the physical body. You can't be on this frequency of spiritual attainment and still have a physical body. It's not possible. It's a different frequency. So the body just disintegrates.
就是你达到那样的一种灵性的一种频率，它就是这个肉体跟它这个是不相合的，那么这个到时候这种融合就会相当于把那个肉体融化掉，立即这个就是那个。
And once you're fused with your adjuster, then you go as one entity. Then you're capable of going right to the Morancha world. For the rest of us, we have to go separately. We have to be the thought adjuster goes to Divinington, and then 3 days later goes to the Morancha world, and the angels take our identity and we put it in a pot, and they create a new body, and all this stuff happens. But when we're fused like that, we can go directly to the Morancha world ourselves as one being fused with our adjuster somehow.
对，那就是说呢，我成为一个存有嘛，那就可以马上就进到灵智世界、宅下世界。那么对大部分人来说，那么这是分开的一个过程。那么天使呢，就带着我们的灵魂，就是带我们到宅下世界，然后就是我们肉身死了以后嘛。那就是信仰调整者，他是回到神之圣都的。那就是天使带我们去那儿之后呢，在那等待那个，到时候信仰调整又从神之圣都到那个宅下世界跟我们会合，这样才有一个新的灵智性的生命。
And then they just remind us that that in order to fuse in this world with your adjuster, you would have to have a very advanced adjuster.
这也提醒我们，就是如果我们想在这个世界马上跟思想调整者融合，那么我们大概是有一个非常高级的一个思想调整者。
And they're saying, and they're reminding us that an adjuster doesn't just get experience on other worlds where the people choose not to survive. There are also where mortals do not fuse with their adjuster. They call it a loan. They have a thought adjuster just for their mortal life, and then they fuse later with a fragment of the local creator sun or the infinite spirit, if they survive. Does that make sense?
If a soul doesn't want to choose to survive.
Yeah. There's different kinds of mortal beings, right? There's
yes.
adjuster fusion mortals. That's us.
Yes.
Yeah, we can choose with the adjuster that's in us. We have the choice to fuse with. But there's other types of beings who they have a thought adjuster, just like us. They may even have the same thought adjuster we have now, but they don't have that option to fuse with that adjuster. That adjuster helps them in their life, but then later they can if they choose survival, because every mortal being has the option to choose survival, eternal survival. They can fuse with a fragment of the creator, the local creator sun, or the infinite spirit. Different types of mortals have different options.
Well, why different? What caused the different?
The difference is I don't know why. But it depends on, it's just what type of mortal you are. Some have adjuster fusion potential and some don't. And it also determines your destiny. Like if you're adjuster fusion like us, I think the majority of mortals are adjuster fusion, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. But then you have the option to eventually be in the core of mortal finality and to become mortal finaliters. I don't know if you have that. I don't think you have that same option if you fuse with the infinite spirit or the creator sun. You have different destiny. I don't know why some do and some don't. It's just like some people are born as created as angels, and some are as humans, and some are as midwayers. It's just like that. There's just different types of beings.
I see. Different destiny. 他就说那个物质存有哈，有就是跟那个思想调整者融合的，也有呢就是如果他们达到永久续存，也有选择跟那个地方宇宙的造物之子融合的，或者跟地方的造物母灵融合的，跟这些的其他的那种灵性存有融合，也可以达到永久的续存。那么跟不同的这灵性存有融合，那它这个定命就是目标是不一样的。那么他只是知道，如果跟像调整者融合的，他有可能到最后进入这个凡人终局者团队。那么他不知道其他的物质存有，包括天使啊、中道者呀这些，他们跟其他的灵性存有融合的，应该是好像没有这个资格进入凡人终局者团队。
So they're just reminding us that adjusters get experience with people like us, but who choose not to survive. So then they get assigned to another mortal, but they also get experience with beings who only have an adjuster for one life. So they may survive. They're just not fusion candidates.
对，他就是说有一些的那个个体大概 就思想调整者也进驻，然后得到了这个人的生活的经验，但是呢，这个个体，但他没有选择跟思想调整者融合啊，那思想调整者离开他，当然就把他的经验带到其
I
他
mean,
的
those
继续住居的个体啊，但是这个同样原来的这个个体，他可以选择跟其他的这种灵性存有融合。
I mean, those beings who have the adjuster on loan, lent to them, they feel just like we do. They feel the presence of God in them. Most human beings here, they don't know about fusion. They don't know you're going to fuse with your adjuster. So those beings feel just the way we do. They feel the presence of God in them, just the way we do. Exactly the same. They just don't fuse later.
那个就像那个词叫借助的啊，就是思想调整只在他们身上就是借助一段，并没有说要跟他们融合。那么他们思想调整只是从这些个体身上得到这个生活的经验。
But it might be interesting if we meet one of those if we meet one of those beings in the future somewhere, our adjuster might recognize them and go, oh, I know that guy. I lived in him for a whole lifetime.
对，他说很有趣，meet 跟这些人见面，然后就像调整者，我们的思想调整者就是我们因为达到最终的融合嘛，我们的思想调整人会认出这些曾经就是借助在他们身上的，说啊，我就认识这个人，我在他身上度过一辈子，这样子。
And by then we might be fused with our adjuster, so we'll have that recognition too.
对，因为我们那时候跟思想调整融合了，我们也会认出这个人来。
I think a lot of interesting things are going to happen in future worlds.
在未来的世界会有很多有趣的事情发生。
Okay, so I'm going to read 3 paragraphs. Subsequent to mortal fusion, the adjusters share your destiny and experience. They are you. After the fusion of the immortal Marancha soul and the associated adjuster, all of the experience and all of the values of the one eventually become the possession of the other. Yeah, so that the two are actually one entity. In a certain sense, this new being is of the eternal past as well as for the eternal future. All that was once human in the surviving soul and all that is experientially divine in the adjuster now become the actual possession of the new and ever ascending universe personality. But on each universe level, the adjuster can endow the new creature only with those attributes which are meaningful and of value on that level. An absolute oneness with the divine monitor, a complete exhaustion of the endowment of an adjuster can only be achieved in eternity, subsequent to the final attainment of the universal Father, the Father of spirits, ever the source of these divine gifts. Okay, then I'll read the next paragraph. When the evolving soul and the divine adjuster are finally and eternally fused, each gains all the experienceable qualities of the other. This coordinate personality possesses all of the experiential memory of survival, once held by the ancestral mortal mind and then resident in the Marancha soul. And in addition thereto, this potential finaliter embraces all the experiential memory of the adjuster throughout the mortal indwellings of all time. but it will require an eternity of the future for an adjuster ever completely to endow the personality partnership with the meanings and values which the divine monitor carries forward from the eternity of the past. Okay. Oh, I said I'd read 3. I think those are just 2.
哦，OK，我来叫这个伙伴，看他还在不在。I'll call this。艾娃还在吗？那沈丽，
好的，
这个第4段开始。
好的。在与凡人融合之后，调整者共享你们的命运和经验，他们就是你们。在不朽的灵智性灵魂和相连的调整者融合之后，一方的所有经验和所有价值最终被另一方所拥有，因此两者实际上是一个存有。从某种意义上说，这个新的存有既是永恒的过去，也是永恒的未来。续存的灵魂中曾经属于人类的一切，以及在调整者经验上属于神性的一切，现在都成为新的、不断扬升的宇宙人格的实际所有物。但在每个宇宙层次上，调整者只能赋予新受造物那些在这个层次上有意义、有价值的属性。与神性告诫者的绝对合一，一个调整者所能赠予的完全耗尽，这只能在最终达至万有之父、灵性之父这些神性礼物曾经的源头，才能在永恒中实现。下一段。当进化的灵魂和神性调整者最终永恒地融合在一起时，每一方都获得了对方所有的经验品质。这个协调人格拥有所有的生存经验记忆，这些经验记忆曾经由祖先凡人的心识持有，然后居住在灵智性灵魂中。除此之外，这个潜在终结者还囊括调整者内住凡人所有时间里的所有记忆、所有经验记忆。但是调整者将需要一个永恒的未来，永远完全赋予人格合作关系以意义和价值。这些意义和价值是神性告诫者从过去的永恒里传承的。
好的，谢谢。
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So this is basically just telling us that when we fuse with our adjuster, now all of those they keep saying experiential. So the adjuster is God. So we don't become like the supreme being or God the Father on paradise instantly. We don't become like, we don't have all of the qualities of God when we fuse with our adjuster, but we do have all of those experiential memories. So what the adjuster has experienced after becoming a thought adjuster, from the time it was separated from God the Father to become a separate entity, a thought adjuster, and started living and existing as a thought adjuster, experiencing on its own lives and mortal beings. We have all those memories. When we fuse, we have those experiential memories, and all of our experience as a mortal becomes very clear to us, because now we have the memory of our thought adjuster who is with us during all of our mortal experiences. So that becomes crystal clear. We can now experience our memories from our viewpoint and also from the viewpoint of our adjuster. So when we fuse, we have their experience and our experience. It's now just one being.
他就是提到这个调整者共享我们的命运和经验嘛，那就是所有的记忆，我们作为凡人的记忆，还有像调整者内住我们的时候，他的记忆就是融合在一起，这个是一个这个经验性的这样的一个融合。
But we're aware because this thought adjuster is a fragment of God the Father. We have that awareness of being eternal, because we don't have we have a birth for our human side, our mortal side, but there is no real, I mean, we probably remember the time when we became a thought adjuster separate from God, probably, but we also have the memory of just eternity, of always existing, because we were always a part of God, because the thought adjuster is a part of God that always existed, has no beginning. So we have that. Once we fuse, we are like a being who has an eternal past as well as an eternal future. Right now we're a being with a finite past. We have a date when we started, our life began, right? When we became a fetus, right? We have a beginning. But when we fuse, now we're part of an eternal past as well as an eternal future.
对，因为我们就是神的，像调整是神的片段嘛，那么我们也有共享永恒的过去和未来，跟神一样，就是有这样的永恒的过去和未来。那么作为人的一面呢，我们有出生有限的过去，现在我们又加上了这永恒的这个属性，那么对。
So we have all these memories and all these everything that the adjuster gained and learned and absorbed from every being it lived in is now part of us.
那么这个我们因为共享这个像调整者的记忆，那么这像调整者历来他所得到的从那个不同的个体学到的东西，那也成为我们的所有。
But it says, but here it says, but on each universe level, the adjuster can endow the new creature only with those attributes which are meaningful and of value on that level. So what they're saying is, even though we're one with the adjuster who is God still has the means, the ability to only share with us what makes sense to us, what's meaningful for the level of reality where we are. It's not going to give us some kind of crazy God reality that we don't understand or isn't of use for us. In other words, it's doling it out bit by bit. It's giving us another portion as we can ingest it. So when we're in the Morancha world, it's sharing certain realities. As we evolve, it shares more and more of its eternal, infinite reality. So that's what it's saying. It's only giving us what we can handle at each stage of our evolution.
对，那这句话强调，在每个宇宙层次，调整只能赋予新受造物那些在这个层次上有意义、有价值的属性。那么他的意思是说，因为我们还在进化当中嘛，那么像调整者还继续，他有这个能力，有这个方法，就是说那个给我们那个影响，就是我们能够懂的、能够接受的，是对我们有用的，我们能够有效的转化成我们的实相的，那么 对，就是他还没有穷尽他的永恒的无尽的实相，就是他只给我们这个层次能够了解、能够接受、能够消化的。
So when we fuse, we are one being with our adjuster. We are one being. We can never, ever die. We can never be separated again.
嗯哼，对，那当融合以后，我们成为一个存有，我们就不会再消亡，也不会分离。
But it says an absolute oneness with the divine monitor, a complete exhaustion of the endowment of an adjuster can only be achieved in eternity after we meet the universal Father in paradise. So what it's saying is we are one, but that doesn't mean we have everything that the adjuster has. We haven't exhausted all the potential of this. So it's like this. It's like your child, right? You have a mind. No one can take that mind away from you. It's part of you, but you haven't developed it fully. You haven't even learned the language yet, right? So you're using your mind as you grow, as you're able to handle more and more intellectual abilities, you use more and more your brain. It's just like that.
对，思想调整跟我们成为一，但就是最后一句嘛，就是他赠予的完全耗尽，就是只能在达至万有之父、灵性之父这些理性、神性礼物曾经的源头，才能在永恒中实现。那么他举一个例子，就像一个小孩子，那么他有心智，那么但是心智没有得到充分的发展。那他不断的用这个他的心智，那么慢慢的他的智性的发展就越来越高，就有点类似的这个进化途径。
You could see it like it's as if your thought adjuster is the most fabulous, incredible library that ever existed in the universe. And when you merge with your thought adjuster, you move into the library. That's where you live. You have access to all the books in the library, but you haven't read them all yet.
就是另外一个比喻，就是你跟思想调整的融合。那么，如果思想调整是一个图书馆，你的融合相当于你搬进了图书馆，但是你还没有读所有的书，还没有读完所有的书。
So as you're evolving, you're reading more and more books and more and more books and more and more books, and you're learning and you're becoming wiser and wiser and more knowledgeable. And that continues right all the way till you meet the Father in paradise. And then finally, when you meet the Father in paradise, then you've read all the books in the library.
那么你这个慢慢的进化进步，你是一本一本的书读，学习更多，变得更明智，更有知识哈。最后你跟神去见面，天堂之父去面对面，那么你就相当于读完了所有的书。
But then I think as soon as that happens, the Father says, okay, here's a new library for you.
他就想象，那么当这是完成的时候，那么天堂之父有可能又给你指出另外一个图书馆，说，哎，OK，这个图书馆的书继续读吧。
That must be how it goes.
他猜想大概那个就是会要发生的。
Okay, so what does it say here? When the evolving soul and are finally eternally fused, each grants the experience of coordinate personality possesses all the memory once held. So yeah, so we have all the memories and of the this coordinate personality possesses all the experience memories five once held by the ancestral mortal mind. And yeah, okay, so I think I said all this into it, but it will kind of eternity. Yeah, okay, I said all that personality meaning. Okay, so now I'm going to read just the next paragraph. But with the vast majority of Urantians, the adjuster must patiently await the arrival of death deliverance, must await the liberation of the emerging soul from the well-nigh complete domination of the energy patterns and chemical forces inherent in your material order of existence. The chief difficulty you experience in contacting with your adjusters consists in this very inherent material nature. So few mortals are real thinkers. You do not spiritually develop and discipline your minds to the point of favorable liaison with the divine adjusters. The ear of the human mind is almost deaf to the spiritual pleas which the adjuster translates from the manifold messages of the universal broadcasts of love proceeding from the Father of mercies. The adjuster finds it almost impossible to register these inspiring spirit leadings in an animal mind so completely dominated by the chemical and electrical forces inherent in your physical natures. That's kind of depressing, that one. Okay, Shenli.
Yeah. 但是对于绝大多数的预染下人来说，调整者必须耐心地等待死亡解脱的到来。他必须等待新生灵魂从你们物质存在层面里所固有的能量模式和化学力量近乎完全的控制中解放出来。你与你的调整者接触中的主要困难在于这种非常固有的物质属性，所以很少有凡人是真正的思想者。你没有在灵性上发展和训练你的心智，使之保持与神性调整者良好的联系。人类心识的耳朵几乎对灵性请求充耳不闻。慈悲之父在宇宙中广播爱，这灵性请求是调整者从这广播的各种信息翻译过来的。调整者发现，几乎不可能把启发灵感的灵性指引导入一个动物性的心识里。这动物性心识如此完全地受你们的身体本质中所固有的化学和电子力量所支配。下一段也读是吗？
没有，他只读了这一段。对，他评论说这一段非常令人难过。Heidi, are you muted? Oh, we can read that. We can read Chinese next paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah, I told the audience that you said this paragraph is quite depressing.
It's very depressing, but the next one's a little more hopeful.
沈丽，你把下一段也读了吧。
Are you going to read the next one, or do you want me to talk about this one?
Teddy 回来了。
哦。
吧。
Okay, you want me to talk about this one first?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
All right. I was just trying to. Okay, I'm training my little dog because he's afraid of so many things. So I'm training him to not be afraid of things.
Yeah, that takes a while.
Yeah, every time he comes inside, I give him a treat. But now I give it to him next to something he's afraid of. So you know, because he's afraid of things. So I give him a treat next to something he's afraid of. So that way I can so you know, we can overcome his fears.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one was the depressing one. Basically they're just telling us that our thought adjusters have to be very, very patient, because with our animal, because we're still in an animal form. So there's there, and in a way they're telling us it's not our fault, because we're in an animal form. So they're saying that with the chemical and electrical elements that exist, that we exist in this physical, chemical, electrical form, that makes it very hard for the thought adjuster to communicate with us, because what it is that spiritual, our thought adjuster is existing on a different frequency than we are. So intercommunication is difficult simply on a physical level.
What's your last sentence? Simply on a physical level.
Well, oh, I'm not reading, I'm just talking.
Yeah, I know, but
Oh, you're just asking me what I mean by that last sentence?
yeah.
I'm saying that even if we want to communicate, even if we want to communicate with our thought adjuster, it's still difficult on a physical level, because we're on different I mean, we can do
got
it.
it. Yeah.对，因为我们就是还在动物的身形里边，当然这也不是我们的错哈。那我们就是我们的那个化学电性的这种元素，实际上使我们很难跟那个思想调整者他这个灵性的这个频率去直接去沟通。因为频率太不同了嘛，所以他们就是像他们跟我们沟通也困难，我们试图跟他们沟通其实也困难，因为这频率相差太大。
You see, the last sentence is, the adjuster finds it almost impossible to register these inspiring spirit leadings in an animal mind so completely dominated by the chemical and electrical forces inherent in our physical nature. That's what they're saying. Our minds are so physical that they're not really created to receive spiritual messages. That's what they're saying.
对，就是说我们的物质性心识啊，相当于不是用来创造来接受灵性信息的，所以是比较困难的，因为我们的动物性心识哈，或者是物质性的心识，它是被固有的化学和电子力量所支配，就是神性调整者很难把这个启发灵感的灵性，就是导引到我们这样一个动物性的心识里。
But above that, it says, so few mortals are real thinkers. You do not spiritually develop and discipline your minds to the point of favorable liaison with the divine adjusters. So they're saying that even though our minds are physically, chemically, and electrically set up not to receive spiritual messages, we can, if we discipline and develop our minds, if we learn to think clearly, we can we can receive messages, but it requires real thinking and developing and disciplining our minds so that we can have a favorable liaison connection with our adjusters. We can do it. We just have to work really hard to do it.
对，他上一句是说很少有凡人是真正的思想者哦，你没有在灵性上发展和训练你的心智，使之保持与神性调整者良好的联系。他就说，虽然我们从物质上、化学上和电子方面，这个动物性的属性是不利于这个与思想调整者交流，但是如果我们能够训练和发展我们的心智，还是可以创造这种，就是说跟思想调整者能够进行交通联合的这么一种状况，但是我们很少有这样训练我们的心智。
So the next paragraph is, adjusters rejoice to make contact with the mortal. I'll read the next three paragraphs. They're little ones. Adjusters rejoice to make contact with the mortal mind, but they must be patient through the long years of silent sojourn, during which they are unable to break through animal resistance and directly communicate with you. The higher the thought adjusters ascend in the scale of service, the more efficient they become. But never can they greet you in the flesh with the same full, sympathetic, and expressionful affection as they will when you discern them mind to mind on the mansion worlds. During the mortal life, the material body and mind separate you from your adjuster and prevent free communication. Subsequent to death, after the eternal fusion, you and the adjuster are one. You are not distinguishable as separate beings, and thus there exists no need for communication as you would understand it. While the voice of the adjuster is ever within you, most of you will hear it seldom during a lifetime. Human beings below the third and second circles of attainment rarely hear the adjuster's direct voice, except in moments of supreme desire, in a supreme situation, and consequent upon a supreme decision. Dun Lee.
Oh, you're done. Okay, 3 paragraph.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're little ones.
调整者，调整者乐于与凡人的心识接触，但是他们必须耐心地度过漫长的静默居留期。在此期间，他们无法突破动物性阻力，来直接与你交流。思想调整者的服务范围越高，他们就会越高效。但是在肉身里，他们永远不可能像你在窄下世界里心识对心识的察觉出他们那样，带着同样饱满的、富有同情心的、表情丰富的情感来问候你。在凡人的生命中，物质的身体和心识将你与你的调整者隔离开来，阻止了自由的交流。在死亡之后，在永恒的融合之后，你与调整者是一体的，不能把你们作为分离的存有加以区分，因此没有必要像你所理解的那样进行交流。下面
That's it?
No. One more paragraph.
虽然调整者的声音一直在你们心中，但你们大部分人一生中很少会听到。达至第3圈和第2圈以下的人，很少听到调整者直接的声音，除非在最高渴望的时刻，在最高的情况下，并在做了一个至高决定之后。好了。
Okay.
Yeah, we're done.
Okay, so what they're saying is that they're saying after death, after we fuse with the thought adjuster, communication becomes is different. But I just want to make it clear, they're not saying as soon as we die, we fuse with the adjuster. They're just saying that after death, at some point in the Marancha worlds, we will fuse with the adjuster. That's what they're saying.
这个是他跳到77，他没说，跳到78最后一部分，在死亡之后，永恒的融合之后，他这个地方，并不是说死亡带来融合，而是死亡之后，在某一个阶段，他跟你融合，然后就是在摘下时间。
But I mean that, some people, not to be depressing, but some people don't even fuse with their adjuster until they get to the system headquarters, Jerusalem. But most people fuse, I think, pretty early on in the mansion worlds. Not necessarily the first one, because for people from a planet like Earth, we have a lot of rehabilitation to do. Fixing first we have to fix our problems and achieve our 7 circles, but I think pretty early on in the mansion world, a lot of people fuse.
对，有些人跟那个现场融合就很晚，可能一直进化到系统总部那块儿才融合。那么当然，我们进入载下世界还要先解决那个康复我们的各种的问题，然后达到7个心灵圆圈，然后再加上其他的成就，然后才能达到融合。那很多人也许在载下世界头几个，也许就融合了。
In this last paragraph, it says what I've been saying all along. It says, while the voice of the adjuster is ever within you, most of you will hear it seldom during a lifetime. So most people, not all, there's some people who just talk to God all the time. It's just perfectly natural for them. But most people don't hear the voice of God as the voice of God. But many people do hear in an emergency. I've been saying that all along, but I didn't realize it said that in the book. I just knew it from what people say, stories and my own experiences. But it says right here that people below the 3rd and 2nd circles of attainment rarely hear the adjuster's direct voice, except in moments of supreme desire, in a supreme situation, and consequent upon a supreme decision. So they're telling us that those three circumstances, supreme desire, that could be when you're absolutely needing to hear the voice of God, or needing guidance, or wanting something, with all your heart to be a better person, or, something like that. A supreme situation, someone is dying, you're trying to save someone's life, they're extreme cases, and consequent upon a supreme decision. The supreme decisions are the ones like I've told you, like just making a commitment to do God's will, or like the decision I made in the dream about this spaceship, deciding to take the blame myself rather than give it to my crew members. These kinds of decisions, the supreme decisions, are decisions that change like a supreme decision would be like when that boy decided to open a door for someone. That to most people, that's nothing. It's just something you never even think about. You just hold the door open. But for that kid, that was a supreme decision.
他是就是进到79的最后一句，就是达至第3圈、第2圈以下的人很少 直接听到调整者的声音，除非在最高渴望的时刻、最高的情况下，并在做了一个至高决定之后，那么就是有的时候人穷则思天嘛，这是在紧急情况下啊，在你就是山穷水尽的时候，你那时候就不由自主的呼求神嘛，啊，或者你做了一个至高决定之后。就至高决定就指的是相当于决定执行神的旨意啊，那个情况下，那就是他就又提到那个男孩儿，他决定OK，他要尝试要给人开门这样一个决定，对他来说就是至高决定，但是对很多人来说，可能他一生当中都没有遇到这样的一种情况，然后时刻让他能够做出这样一个至高决定。
So I think that's the lesson for today is that it doesn't matter where you are as long as you take that first step and make the decision to get on the right path.
对，那么对我们的启示，今天对我们的启示就是，我们不管我们现在身处在哪里，只要我们能迈出第一步。
So in God's eyes, a supreme decision for one person might be giving your life to save someone else's life. A supreme decision of equal value for another person might be to hold a door open.
那么在神的眼里，哈，这个至高决定有可能是，比如说你牺牲自己的生命来救另外一个生命，但是在神的眼里，这个决定给别人开门，那么跟这个也许有同样的重量。
Because you can't go from A to Z. You have to go A, B, C, D, E. There are no shortcuts. All of us have to take the same journey forward, one step at a time.
我在这个从 A 到 Z 哈，它起点到终点之间是没有捷径的，那么你都要经过 A B C D 这样慢慢的走过来，这样一个旅程是没有捷径的。
Well, I used English alphabets. I could have said one to infinity and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
我当然用的是英文的字母做比喻，那么也可以用数字从1到无限大，这样。
I forgot that Chinese don't use letters.
But we also have phonic system with the same as English alphabet, so we don't have trouble to understand what you mean.
Yeah. But I heard you say A to Z, A B C D.
Yeah, we know.
So from your thought adjuster's perspective, your thought adjuster would be just as proud of the boy who made the decision to open a door for someone as he would of the person who gave their life for someone else, because it was just as hard a decision for that boy as it was for that man. Do you understand?
Yeah, OK. 那么从思想调整者的角度来说，那么他会同样的感到自豪，就是你决定牺牲自己的生命来拯救别的生命。还有那个男孩决定就是要给别人开门，因为这两个都是很难的一个决定。
So that's why it's so important. It's so important not to compare ourselves to others. We only have to compare ourselves to ourselves.
所以就是很重要，你不要跟别人去进行比较，你只能跟自己比较。
Compare yourself today to who you were yesterday, not to anybody else, because that doesn't matter.
对，从昨天跟今天，今天跟昨天去比，对，不要去跟别人比，那个是并无关紧要的。
But you can, there's one person you can compare yourself to.
但是你可以跟一个人比，
You can compare yourself to that kid who opened the door.
你可以跟那个孩子比，就是他从给别人开一扇门开始，你可以跟他比。
You're
Yeah,
probably
give
gonna
us lot of encouragement. Yeah, no matter how small a step is, it is still one step forward.
Yeah, and you're probably already a little bit ahead of him on your path.
他
You've
说
probably
你可
already
能
opened some doors for people.
可能你已经早就比那个男孩要先进很多了，你可能早已经给人开过一扇门了。
So what was important was not that he opened the door, it was that he did something that was so hard for him to do.
对，他做了一个对他来说很难的这么一件事情。
So that's when God talks to you. When you make it, that he made a supreme decision. That supreme decisions change your life. And that, because it was a supreme decision, meaning a decision that was very hard for him to make, that he had a choice to be godlike or not to be godlike. That's a supreme decision. That's when God often speaks to you and you can hear his voice. Not always, but often.
对，这个至高决定是改变生命的决定，那么是通常情况下很难做出来的。那你决定要像神一样啊，实际上神是经常对你说话的。
Or even if you can't hear God's voice at a time when you make a supreme decision, you will have a feeling of relief. A feeling of well-being will come over you, and I've said this before, when you make a supreme decision, right up until the moment you make it, you don't know what you're going to do. You don't know which is right, which is the right thing, and which is the wrong thing. You don't know. You're in a struggle. But the moment you make the right decision, you feel this, you know with all your being that you made the right choice.
他就说哈，你可能并听不到神的声音，但是呢，你做了至高决定之后，往往有一种解脱，松下来的，就是觉得很好的，感觉很好的这个时候。对，所以在这之前你可能很那个挣扎，不知道要做什么决定，但是你一旦做出来这个决定，你马上就知道这个是正确的决定。
And when you make the wrong choice, what will happen is you'll get defensive, you'll start rationalizing, you'll attack people who say you're wrong, you'll constantly be giving people excuses for why you had to make that choice, why it's the right choice. When you make the right choice, you don't have to do any of that.
你如果做了错误的决定，你就变得那么要保护自己，给自己做辩解，那么说，跟别人解释自己为什么要做出这样的要这么做，然后呢，去攻击那些说你错误的人，并且就是给理由，对，给别人理由，你为什么做这样的选择，你就不停的在解释自己。
That's how you know. When you're in denial, which is I think, the number one human problem we face is denial. How do you know you're in denial? I think I've talked about this before. How do you know you're in denial? You can't know you're in denial because you're in denial, right? So how do you know you're in denial? Well, I've said it's like a black hole. You don't see a black hole, but you know it's there because of what's going on around it. That's what denial is. You don't know you're in denial, but if you're in denial and someone says, hey, you're wrong about that, you get very, very angry because they're right. And deep inside you always know what's right and what's wrong. So when someone says, hey, that was the wrong decision, you will get very angry. That's because they're telling you the truth and you don't want to hear it.
对，我们人类很容易就是陷入自我否认，就是不承认不承认现实，不承认实相，不认错这样一个状态，你相当于就是陷入一个黑洞。那么如果有人说啊你做错了，那么你就会非常的疯狂。非常的那个反应剧烈，因为在那个心灵深处，你知道他们说的是对的。
Now, when you make the right decision and someone says you were wrong about that, you might get a little annoyed, but you don't get really angry because you just say, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, because you know in your heart that you're right, that God, you are good with God. And that, and let them say that. Let them say you're wrong. And you can say to yourself, you know what? Whenever you do the right thing, there's going to be people who tell you you're wrong. That's how the world is. People hate the truth teller. They will attack you. They will come after you, but you won't be that angry at them. Maybe you'll want to pray for them.
Yeah. 对，当你做了一个就是对的决定的时候，那么如果别人说啊你错了，你可能有一点恼火，但是你不会变得很愤怒，因为你知道你跟神同行，你是好的对的，你只是对你就允许他们就是面对他们的挑战，就是也没有太多的反应。并且可能还会为他们祷告。
When you're doing the right thing and people you love don't support you and say you're doing the wrong thing and attack you, that's hurtful. So, of course it is. It can be very, very hurtful, but that's different. It's different than when you're doing the wrong thing and those people are right, that you hate them for that. When you're doing the right thing, you don't hate people. Sure, it might hurt you. It might hurt you very much, but you don't have that same kind of, you don't want to attack them because you're secure inside yourself.
Yeah. 对的，尤其是当你做了正确的决定，你爱的人不是支持你，那么这是非常令人伤心的。那是你的反应是不同的。如果是你错了，做了错误决定，他们是正确的，你就会非常的对，就是讨厌、愤恨他们，并且攻击他们有那个不安全感，对。所以就是你做的正确和错误的决定的时候，你的内心状况是不同的。
So they're saying human beings below the third and second circles rarely hear the adjuster's voice except in moments of supreme desire, supreme situation, and consequent upon the supreme decision. But I'm saying, even if you don't hear the adjuster's voice, you often have a feeling of well-being. You did the right thing. You feel when you make a supreme decision and you make the right decision, it changes you. You feel better. You feel more secure. And you have no doubt. It gets rid of doubt. But it doesn't just get rid of doubt for that one decision. It helps you to get rid of doubt in general. And it'll make the next supreme decision easier to know which is the right thing to do, because the first ones are very, very hard to make. And then each supreme decision gets they're still difficult, but it's easier to know which is the right choice after that. Each one, you become more and more. And that's when you finally fuse with your adjuster, when you automatically know which is the right one.
Yeah. 就是对，他就说你做了正确的决定，你会感觉很有安全感，你就是去除了这个疑惑。你做了第一个正确决定可能会很难，但是你会越来越做下一个正确决定的时候会越来越容易，一直到最后你就是说更自动的就会按照这个神的旨意去做决定。
So even if you can't directly hear the adjuster's voice, you can still pray to God, say, guide me, show me signs, set me on the right path, help me to understand your will. The adjuster still has many ways of guiding you and leading you through dreams, through signs. You might look up and see the sun rays shining when you have a certain idea. You might hear a bird might fly right next to you and look at you. It could be anything. Just pray to get guidance, to be closer with God, to do his will. He can work in other ways. There's a million ways that he can guide you.
对，那就是你听不到声音的，你祷告当中，你也可以请求神给你一些的标志啊，一些的那个图像啊，一些的梦啊什么的，就是在通过这各种的方式来引领你，嗯给你指导，然后把他的旨意彰显给你。
Okay, so I'm going to read the next paragraph, which is the last paragraph of this section.
Ooh. Yep. It is a long one, yes.
It's a long one, but we got to get through it. Okay.
Yeah.
During the making and breaking of a contract. During the making and breaking of a contact between the mortal mind of a destiny reservist. Oh, we haven't even read about destiny reservists yet.
No.
I think we're going to read about them in the next paper. Wait, let me look. It's funny that they mentioned them.
And we mentioned that before. We read something in last
Yeah.
paper already. Yeah.
It's the
So
Reserve
we
Corps
read
of.
that.
Did we read about it?
Yeah, we read about it in last paper.
The Reserve Corps of Destiny? Okay, good. During the making and breaking of a contact between the mortal mind of a destiny reservist and the planetary supervisors, sometimes the indwelling adjuster is so situated that it becomes possible to transmit a message to the mortal. Oh my God. This is what, okay, I just want to say this is one of my favorite paragraphs in the whole book. This is really great. This is so great. Okay.
他说这一段是他对整本书他最喜欢的一段。
During the making and breaking of a contact between the mortal mind of a destiny reservist and the planetary supervisors, sometimes the indwelling adjuster is so situated that it becomes possible to transmit a message to the mortal partner. Not long since on Urantia, such a message was transmitted by a self-acting adjuster to the human associate, a member of the Reserve Corps of Destiny. This message was introduced by these words. So there's the thought adjuster talking right to the person. And now, without injury or jeopardy to the subject of my solicitous devotion, and without intent to over-chastise or discourage, for me, make record of this, my plea to him. Then followed a beautifully touching and appealing admonition. Among other things, the adjuster pleaded that he more faithfully give me his sincere cooperation, more cheerfully endure the tasks of my emplacement, more faithfully carry out the program of my arrangement, more patiently go through the trials of my selection, more persistently and cheerfully tread the path of my choosing, more humbly receive credit that may accrue as a result of my ceaseless endeavors. Thus transmit my admonition to the man of my indwelling. Upon him I bestow the supreme devotion and affection of a divine spirit. And say further to my beloved subject that I will function with wisdom and power until the very end, until the last earth struggle is over. I will be true to my personality trust. I exhort him to survival, not to disappoint me, not to deprive me of my reward of my patient and intense struggle. On the human will, our achievement of personality depends. Circle by circle, I have patiently ascended this human mind, and I have testimony that I am meeting the approval of the chief of my kind. Circle by circle, I am passing on to judgment. I await with pleasure and without apprehension the roll call of destiny. I am prepared to submit all to the tribunals of the ancients of days.
Yeah.
because before Shanli reads that, just say to everyone, that is an adjuster. This is the only place in the book where we hear an adjuster talking. He's talking to his mortal, but that message is to all of us.
这个是这本书唯一的一个地方，这个思想调整者对他的主体哈，对他的寄居者、被寄居者这个直接说话，当然这个就是对我们所有的人说的。Yeah.
Right? That's amazing.
Yeah, 它是非常的那个稀奇的、稀罕的。胜利。
在建立和切断命运预备役的凡人心识和行星监督者之间的联系的过程中，有时候内在调整者所处的位置可以让他向凡人合作伙伴传递一个信息。不久之前，在玉苒厦上，一个自主行动的调整者把这样一条信息传递给了人类合作伙伴，一个命运预备队成员。这条信息是这样写的：而现在，在对我殷勤奉献的主体不伤害或造成危险的情况下，没有过度惩罚或挫伤的意图，为我记录我对他的恳求。接下来是一段美丽动人的劝诫。除此之外，调整者还恳求，他会更加真诚地与我合作，更加愉快地承担我的任务，更加忠诚地执行我的安排，更加耐心地经历我选择的试验，更加坚定和愉快地走我选择的道路，更加谦卑地接受我不懈努力可能带来的赞扬，从而将我的告诫传达给我内住的人。我赋予他一种神性之灵的至高无上的奉献和情感，并进一步告诉我心爱的主体，我将以智慧和力量运作，直到最后一刻，直到地球上最后的斗争结束。我将忠实于我的人格信任。我告诫他要活下去，不要让我失望，不要剥夺我耐心和激烈斗争的回报。我们人格的成就取决于人类的意志。我已经耐心地一圈一圈地提升了这个人的心识。我见证我正得到我的同类首领的嘉许，一圈又一圈，我正接受评判。我满心欢喜，毫无顾忌地等待着命运的钦点。我已准备好把一切都交给亘古常在者的法庭。
Okay.
谢谢。
So amazing, right? So,
Yeah.
so, so, okay, so there's a few things here. So first of all, the adjuster is saying, I'm doing fine. I'm not worried about me passing the test. I await with pleasure. This is the last sentence. I await with pleasure and without apprehension the roll calls of destiny. So don't you worry that I'm doing my job. Okay, I'm doing my job just fine. We're concerned with you doing yours.
对，他先从最后的一部分说起，就是说我并不担心我做的工作，我的成功，就是我已经做了我的工作哈，我做到我得到我的同类首领的嘉许啊，我那个满心欢喜，毫无顾忌的等待命运的钦点啊，现在我就是担心的是你啊。
And now here's the funny part. He knows how sensitive and he knows how sensitive we are, how easily discouraged. He has to be so careful. He says without, I want to say this, without injury or jeopardy to the subject, without intent to over chastise or discourage, right? So your thought adjuster knows that you're a very sensitive creature. He has to be very careful not to hurt your feelings.
并且他意识到我们是多么敏感的这种那个造物，就是很容易被挫伤哈，所以他就是强调在这个我的主体不造成对我的主体不造成伤害啊，不过也没有过度挫伤的意图啊，然后再对他有一些的忠告。
So it's very funny because he's saying, listen, I love you very much. Don't take this the wrong way. Don't get offended, but you're making my life very difficult. You're making my job very difficult.
他说：“对，你看，你听着，我是非常爱你的，不要就是错读我的信息，不要那么急于就是为自己辩解。但是呢，你的确让我的工作非常的困难去执行。”
Now that's the funny part. This is the most interesting part.
这是很有意思的一段。
The most interesting part is that he is making it clear he's got a very specific plan for you. He's very, very involved in your life.
他就是有很特别的为你制作的计划，非常的那个深入的，就是参与我们的生活。
He's saying, give me your sincere cooperation. Please cooperate. Please work with me. Stop fighting me. That's the first thing.
就是首先你要真诚的跟我合作，不要跟我老是拧着。
He's saying the second thing, I'm giving you tasks to do. Please do them more cheerfully. Stop complaining about everything.
对，那么第二条就是给你的任务，你要欢欢喜喜的去完成，不要总是抱怨。
He's saying, I'm giving you tasks. You're going to have jobs to do. This is for your own good. It's not all supposed to be easy. You're not supposed to just be at a party drinking, cocktails your whole life. Yes, I'm going to give you jobs to do. Do them cheerfully.
对，我是给你工作做，那么是为了你的好处，也许不是那么容易，不是让你终生都去喝鸡尾酒，那你要好好的做你的工作。
And then he's saying, more faithfully carry out the program of my arrangement. He's saying, this is someone, I have a program for you. Faithfully carry it out. Stop making excuses. Stop prevaricating. Stop lying to yourself. Just be faithful to the program. Trust me. Trust me. There is a program. He's saying, I have a program for you. Just accept it.
对，我对你有一个计划，一个项目，你就要接受，你不要拖延，你不要对自己撒谎，对你就是要接受，要执行，跟我真诚的合作。
He's saying, more patiently go through the trials of my selection. He's saying, I am choosing special trials for you, special trials for you personally that you need to become a better person. That one kid, his trial was to open a door for someone. Like I'm choosing. He's saying trials of my selection. So when we go through hard things, it's not by chance. Your thought adjuster is choosing your path. He's saying, be patient. Be patient with these trials. You're going to have one after another, after another, after another. Stop fighting them. Stop complaining. Stop getting frustrated. Just go through them one by one. Go through it. Handle it. Handle it.
Yeah，那么我选择了特别的试炼哈，给你这个地方应该是翻成试炼，不是试验。那么让你成为更好的、更完全的人。那么对那个男孩来说，就是给别人开一扇门啊。我选择的这些的试炼哈，你要有耐心的一个一个的去克服，不要沮丧啊，那个烦恼啊，你要学习一个一个的把它给处理好。
He's saying when you go through trials, we call them trials and tribulations. He's saying they happen for a reason. Be patient with them. Don't go, oh, remember I told you the story in the very beginning of our sessions about the people who lose a child, right? It's the most horrible thing that can happen. And there's two kinds of people. You see them on TV with these stories. One is, oh my God, you cannot imagine the worst thing that could ever happen. A parent should never see their child die. I'll never go to their graduation. I'll never go to their wedding. I'll never hold my grandchild. I'll never see their, graduate from the flight school and become a pilot. Whatever. Remember, Ricky, remember when I told that story?
Yeah.
And then you see this other parent and they're going, we've started a foundation in our daughter's name so that no other child ever has to die this way. We are devoting our life to saving the lives so that no other parents, and you can see that they've become better people. Their pain has made them become better people. One has patiently endured a supreme trial, and one is just decided to just make the rest of their life feeling sorry, trying to get pity and complaining about what could have been, what should have been. In other words, they're saying everything went wrong in my life. Poor me. And the thought adjuster is saying nothing goes wrong in your life ever. I'm selecting these trials for you.
Yeah. 这是很长的一段哈。那么就是这个就是要耐心的，就是经过生命的一个一个的试炼哈。他就是提到以前他也提到，那同样的父母就是失去年幼的孩子哈。有些人可能会抱怨说啊，这么差，这么坏，我这么命运这么悲惨哈。我将永远看不到他们毕业那一天啊，不能参加他们的婚礼啊，不能那个有祖孙，那个孙子抱了。但是另外的一对夫妇，也许他们也同样失去了年幼的孩子，但是他们因此而建立一个基金会，然后希望能够让别的孩子，不要有这样年幼就死去哈。然后他们在这样的所谓人生的 困境、痛苦当中，然后使他们成长为更好的人，然后这样的，所以就是我们经历这些人生的试炼的时候，不要就是陷入一种自怜、自卑、抱怨这样的情景当中，那好像就是你看我多可怜啊，我多悲惨。可是，在神的眼里，就是没有什么事情是就这样，真的是，错误，没有错误，在神眼里没有事情是错误是不应该的，嗯
It's like these all of these transgender people, and God bless them. I have nothing against them, but they're saying I was born in the wrong body. I'll be happy when I change my, I'm really a man. I'm really a woman. You weren't born in the wrong body. God doesn't make mistakes. You feel uncomfortable. Well, that's your trial. That's what you have to work on. You have to learn to be comfortable in the body you were given. And it can be very, very hard. Some people don't like their nose. Some people don't like their face. Some people don't, dyeing your hair, that's one thing. But these people they assume that that everything is that they were given is wrong. And I'm saying, no, everything you were given is right. You are the only one that's wrong. You have to learn to deal with it. And when you can deal with it, then you'll be given another trial to deal with it. It's just one trial at a time.
嗯哼，对，那有一些就是跨性别的人哈，就是同性恋者那种的，他们抱怨说上帝给了他们错的身体，那么实际上没有什么东西是错的，上帝没有，那个犯错。那么有的人就是不喜欢自己的鼻子，不喜欢自己的脸，总认为是个上帝犯错。可是实际上，上帝永远不会犯错，你要学习怎么样，就是接纳和那个处理这些的试炼。
And then with these people who have no patience for their trials, who wallow in self-pity, it's not only that they're wallowing in self-pity, it's also that they're making an assumption that everything went wrong, and this is how they're assuming they know how it would have been if their daughter had lived. They say I'll never go to her high school graduation. And I say, she might have dropped out of high school. I dropped out of high school. I'll never go to her college graduation. I dropped out of college too. I'll never go to her wedding. I didn't get married. I'll never hold my granddaughter. I didn't have a grandchild. So what I'm saying is, what would I have been a big disappointment? I may as well have died when I was young, because I didn't let my parent do any of those things.
Yeah，
They
他
don't
就
know what's
说，
going to happen. They don't know. Their daughter might be a lesbian, a drug addict. They don't know. What are they saying? They're saying, this is how my life was supposed to be, and now I'm going to have to be upset for the rest of my life. Their life might not have been that way anyway.
对，那父母的一些的那个，伤心啊，所谓的失去啊，都是一些假设。那比如说，那不能说这我女儿早死了，没有办法高中毕业啊，没有办法，参加他们的毕业典礼啊，或者没办法抱孙子了，那就有可能，比如说，他就说我都没有高中毕业，我也还从大学里都辍学过啊，我也没有结婚啊，我也没有那个生孩子，对吧？那就是他们的孩子长大，有可能他们所期待的那一个一个里程碑，都可能都不一定是那个女儿，所就是遵循的生活道路，他有什么感到为这些没有达到圆满而感到遗憾的，都是我们自己的假设。
it's like I mean, it's human nature, so you have to give them, a little bit of slack, but they're basically saying all of their happiness in life depends on what other people do with their lives. That's not fair to their children. They have to be happy with their own life.
对，那么这些人就是说，实际上，把他们的幸福建基在别人身上，别人做什么上面，可是实际上他们就应该为他们自己的生活负责，因为他们自己的生活而幸福。
My friend was she called me up and was so upset that her son she found out her son was gay when he was in his, late 20s.
对，那有个朋友给我打电话，那么难过，说他发现他的儿子是个同性恋啊，20大几快30哈，就是是个同性恋。
And I mean, I tried to feel bad for her, but I couldn't. I just didn't feel bad because so she's like, she'll never go to his wedding. She'll never have a grandchild. I mean, I could understand it, but I just started laughing and I said, listen, he's healthy. He's alive. He can still love people. He can have a great life. I mean, it's like, it's his life. Maybe he wouldn't have had kids anyway. Like, what are you feeling bad about? You have a kid. I don't even have a kid. Like, why are you complaining? So he's gay. Big deal. It's his life.
他就跟他说，他就不由自主的就，对呀，笑了嘛。对，那个朋友就说，哎呀，永远没办法参加他的婚礼啦，没有办法有那个祖孙女啦，他就笑了。他对那个人说，他说至少你看他是健康的，他是活着，他还有能力去爱别人啊，你有什么好抱怨的？你说我连个孩子都还没有呢，啊，对呀，更别提什么就是参加婚礼啊、祖孙啊这些的。他就是那个意思，就让那个人感恩啊，让那个朋友接受这个东西，因为有很多值得感恩的方面，不要只盯住所谓不足的。
She called if she wanted sympathy, she called the wrong person.
如果他要赢得同情，他是找错人了。Right.
I said it's great. It's great that he's gay. Good.
他说，他就跟那朋友说挺好啊，他同性恋挺好的。
If you want to be if you want to be disappointed that you're not following God's plan. Don't be disappointed that someone else isn't following your plan.
对，如果你感到失望，你应该为自己没有遵循神的计划而感到失望，不要因为别人没有遵照你的计划行事而感到失望。
Okay, so then the thought adjuster says, more persistently and cheerfully. Okay, we just said, tread the path of my choosing. He's choosing your path. Just be your job. Your job is to sparkle. Your job is to do it cheerfully. That's all you have. You don't have to even choose a path. Just do it cheerfully.
对，实际上就是在神给你拣选的路上，就是更满怀欢喜的，就是这样一种做你的该做的工作。
And here is my favorite part of this one of my favorite paragraphs, and here's my favorite part of the paragraph.
对，这下面是我最喜欢的一个段落。
And he says, more humbly receive credit that may accrue as a result of my ceaseless endeavors. So what he's saying is, stop taking credit for what I'm doing. When you finally do the right thing and things go good for you, be humble about it. It's not you, it's me. I'm the one who did it.
嗯，对对，就是从33页到34页转折的那个地方说哈，经历我选择的试炼，并且更加坚定愉快的走我选择的道路，更加谦卑的接受我不懈努力可能带来的赞扬。啊，
Or
对，就是说，实际上这句话是说，这个是我不懈努力得来的，也许就是那个你只是照我选的路线那个做的还好，就是实际上是是我的不懈努力，对，你要更加谦卑的这个，而不是认为那个是你做的，你达成的。
more humbly receive credit that may accrue as a result of my ceaseless endeavors. He's making it so clear that the credit you're getting for my ceaseless, in other words, I am working 24/7 every minute of your entire life to put you on the right path. When you finally do something right and someone gives you lots of credit for it, then you take all the credit and go, yeah, that was pretty good. I'm pretty generous. I'm pretty great. I'm a pretty wonderful person. I sure do help people. I open all those doors for everyone. It's like, it's so funny how we are. We finally do the right thing and we think it's all because of us. How wonderful we are.
嗯，当然，最后我们终于采用了就是很正确的道路，做了些好事，而得到一些的奖赏。那么我们可能就会自傲嘛，觉得我做的还不错啊，我很帮助人呢、我很棒哦，这是很有趣的，就是实际上这并不完全是我们自己的功劳啊。
Imagine how the thought adjuster must feel when you take all the credit for yourself and give him no credit.
对，那我们都归于自己的荣耀，而没有把那个荣耀归给思想调整者的时候，思想调整者会怎么想？
I mean, even these artists, you see these artists with these huge egos and they think they're such great artists. They were born with that talent. They had nothing to do with it.
嗯哼，对，像有一些的艺术家呀，他们的自我很大呀，他们认为他们是伟大的艺术家，但是他们就是生来就给赋予这样的天赋，那有啥可骄傲的？
Anyone who's making great art is being inspired and taught by celestial beings and guided by the thought adjuster. They're not doing that. You can't do anything great on your own.
对，那么他们都是那些伟大的灵感，都是由灵界的存有，就是给他们就激发他们，并且教导他们的思想调整者也在引导他们。那么他们有什么为自己感到骄傲的？
Somewhere in the Urantia book it says that if all of the thought adjusters left us tomorrow, we would soon become primitive beings again, just cannibals running around, primitive beings killing each other. Without thought adjusters, we are more or less animals.
嗯哼，对，那么《玉然下之书》就说，如果思想调整者都离开了我们，我们马上就变成了原始人，对，就是到处乱跑，到处乱杀，那个就是恢复那个动物的本性。
So when you finally do something decent, when you finally do something good, at least have the decency to say, hey, I was just trying to follow God's will. I was just trying to do the right thing. Luckily I followed a voice inside me. I mean, at least give your thought adjuster some credit. Have the decency to give them some credit.
对，一旦我们有一些尊严了，我们就要有这个尊严来宣告说，我就是只是简单的想要，那个做正确的事，想要遵循我内在声音的指引啊，就是至少给那个我们内在的内住者一些的那个credit。
And then the thought adjuster says, upon him, upon this lazy, complaining egomaniac, I bestow the supreme devotion and affection of a divine spirit.
哪一句 ？Which one？
This is right after, in the middle of the paragraph, right after he finishes, saying all this stuff, thus transmit, humbly as that he more humbly receive credit that may accrue as a result. Thus transmit my admonition to the man. So give him this admonition, which is a warning. Yeah.
对 ，ceaseless endeavor, transmit, carefully tread the path.
Yeah.
对，
Thus
更加
yeah.
真诚的合作，更加愉快的承担我的人，更加忠实的执行我的安排，耐心的经历我选择的试验。
So
谦
after
卑的接受我赋予他一种神性之灵的至高无上的奉献和情感，并进一步告诉我心爱的主体，我将以智慧和力量运作，直到最后一刻。
So he's saying, I mean, I'm joking, but he's saying, you're a little lazy. You're not very grateful. You're always complaining. You're resisting. You're making my life difficult. And then when you get credit, you take all the credit. You don't give me any credit. You're an egomaniac. But nonetheless, I bestow my supreme devotion and affection of a divine spirit. In other words, but I love you anyway. I love you like only
Yeah.
God could love you.
对，就是你很懒惰，不愿意执行不愿意干活，并且有一点做得好，稍微好一点，又那么自大，就把这个所有的credit 都弄归成自己的。但是无论如何，我还是奉上我至高无上的奉献和情感，就是我仍然是爱你的。
And then he's saying, assure him that I will function with wisdom and power until the very end, until the last earth struggle is over. I will be true to my personality trust. So he's saying there, don't worry about me. No matter what you do, I will be there. I will have your back. I will keep working. Like I am not going anywhere. Like don't worry about me. I'm there. Like that's very, very, very wonderful that he's assuring him.
对，
Us.
他就说
This is to all of us.
Yeah， 他将以这个智慧和力量运作，直到最后一刻。忠实于我的人格信任。那个就是说，不管你做什么，我都是要继续做我的工作，我也不会去任何地方，还协助你把这个斗争进行到底。
And then he's saying, which is quite interesting. He's saying, don't let me down. Choose survival. I've done all this work. Don't deprive me of the reward of my patient, intense struggle. Like this hasn't been easy for me. My job is hard. Don't let me down. Let's fuse. Choose survival. It's for me as much as you. Give me my reward. And the way to thank me is to survive.
对，那么他就是请求这个主体嘛，告诫他要活下去，不要让我失望不要剥夺我耐心和激烈斗争的回报。那就是说，我的工作没有那么容易的，对啊，就是我这样不懈努力你要跟我融合，你要选择续存就是不要浪费了我这么努力的结果。
He's saying, I'm attached to you. I love you. I've invested in you. I have worked for you. Don't desert me. Don't let me down. We're in this together. I don't want to start all over with another person on some other planet. Like, I am invested. I'm here. Like do this with me.
嗯哼，对啊，就是它就相当于求这个主体，你看我跟你就是连接在一起，我给在你身上投资哈，不要让我失望啊，不要抛弃我，我不愿意就是说，哎被抛弃，然后又选择另外一个主体，你跟我一起进行这场斗争，进行这场努力啊，一直到胜利的终点。
You know, in other words, if sometimes you may want to give up, sometimes you don't care if you live or die, sometimes you've just had enough of the struggle. I know this, I feel this way myself. You just say, you know what, I just can't do this anymore. I wish this was over. It's too much for me. If you feel that way, do it for your thought adjuster. Say, hey, you know what, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to march on. Bring it on. Give it to me. I'm going to do it. If you can't do it for yourself, do it for your thought adjuster. Just choose survival.
Yeah，那么我们可能对每个在某一个点上都是有的时候会想放弃，就是不 care 自己生还是死。那在这个时候呢，很希望当你想要结束的时候，其实你要为了你的思想调整者，你还要继续坚持下去。你说 OK，让炮火来的更猛烈一些吧。你要坚持到底，选择与坚定的选择续存。
And this reminds me of the woman who took in this little boy who was having such a hard life, and she raised him and she fed him and she clothed him and she went to his school meetings and she took him to the sports. She did everything. And he just was a selfish kid. And this is like the thought adjuster talking to us when she said, just do something for someone. Just open one door for one person. Like I've invested in you. I've helped you. I've been here for you. Just do one thing for me.
嗯哼，对，那个就像那个母亲哈，领养了那个很难教养的孩子，给他衣服穿，给他好的生活，这个培养他在体育方面的专长，结果他还是很自私，但是呢，那个母亲就像我们的思想调整者一样，这样很那个的努力的教导我们，至少为某一个人开一扇门啊，这样的，对，这样传人也是这样苦口婆心的想引领我们这灵性觉醒。
He's like, just do one thing to show that all of my work was not for nothing, that all of my effort, all of my hard work, all of my love, all of my patience, just do one thing to show me it was worthwhile, that it wasn't in vain.
对，那就是相当于他就请求我们说，至少做一件事情哈，当显我的努力都没有白费，我的耐心都是值得的啊，做一件事来转换。
It's not much to ask.
对啊，他没有要求很多。
Well, we got through this paper.
啊，我们读完了这一篇。Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Is anyone
呃，
awake?
还有伙伴醒着吗？现在你们那边11点了，有没有问题？
Thank you very much, Hedy and Ricky. I have some doubt, confusion about survival and samsara, but it's too late here. Can I ask next time? Next week?
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, well, let's start off with your question next week.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So remember your question.
Yeah, thank you.
I know, I'm sorry we went so late.
Thank you very much. It's really interesting.
Yeah, this is a fun paper. This was a real, listen, it's not often that you hear a thought adjuster talk directly to you. It's pretty exciting stuff.
他说那个我们很少听到思想调整者亲自说话，那么这个是很稀有的一个状况。Yeah.
All right. Listen, Ricky, why don't you stop recording and I'll take a 2-minute break and then I want to ask you I want to ask you some questions.